Hello everybody, and welcome to this first episode of This Week in Tech. I plan on doing this continuously. We'll see, maybe every Friday if I want to do this, because I don't think there's enough channels out there that do a everyday tech update. But I don't think a lot of times that it's super exciting, and I want to highlight things that I find interesting throughout the week. So, to start this week off, it's kind of funny, but the headline, which I changed a little bit, but my headline for this is called "Crackers Could Program Sex Robots to Kill You." So if you don't know, there are these robots that are being made that are kinda like, I guess, technologically advanced blow-up dolls. It's weird. It's weird. Well, people are thinking about this stuff now because they're electronics and they have components in them, and that means they can be cracked and they can be hacked, and so it's interesting. A cybersecurity scientist has issued a warning. These robots, these sex robots, could one day rise up and kill their owners if the crackers can get inside of these robots' heads. And this kind of coincides with what Elon Musk said about a month ago, where he's claiming that artificial intelligence could take over the planet. And he's not the only one that sees the dangers in these kind of technologies. With these sex robots becoming increasingly popular and sophisticated, there's a security expert, his name is Dr. Nick Patterson. He revealed that the lifelike dolls could end up going quote-unquote Terminator on us. But I do keep in mind that in the case of these robots, the danger isn't that they will end up developing their own minds, but instead that the risk is that the crackers could crack the robot's inner defenses, and then, for lack of a better term, could catch their owners with their pants down, like almost entirely. So what does this mean? Like, what could they do? Well, Patterson, Dr. Nick Patterson, says that cracking into any modern day robot, including these sex robots, would be pretty much a piece of cake compared to a more sophisticated gadget like our cell phones and computers. These electronic robots are not very hard to build. Most of the effort is in making them look real and lifelike, but the internal gadgetry is super simple. Dr. Patterson's quoted saying, "Attackers can crack into a robot or a robotic device and have full control of the connection's arms, legs, and other attached tools like knives or welding devices. Once a robot is cracked, the attacker has full control and can issue instructions to the robot." So they think about this. If someone has one of these robots and they're, doing inappropriate things, or it's just sitting there looking like a dead robot, and a cracker gets into it, it can turn it on and move it around, and it could potentially cause harm to somebody or destroy property. These robots, with all these devices, as soon as it's on the internet, just as it is with your cell phone or your computer, it becomes possible for it to be cracked and broken into. Dr. Patterson added, "The last thing you want is for an attacker to have control over one of these robots. Once cracked, they could absolutely be used to perform physical actions for an advantageous scenario or to cause damage." So yes, be careful. Don't buy a sex robot, because it's probably gonna kill you. Our next story is titled "Facebook Reveals It Has Created an AI Digital Map Showing Where Every Human on Planet Earth Lives." And it goes on to say, Facebook has created a map showing where every single person on the planet lives, and it has been revealed. The internet giant hopes the map will help it to offer internet access to more people by creating an internet in the sky. The mapping technology which Facebook says it developed itself can pinpoint any man-made structure in any country on Earth to a resolution of 15 feet. The map was built by combining government census numbers with information obtained from space satellites. The data is used to know population density. This is a quote from Jenna Lewis, Facebook's head of strategic innovation partnerships and sourcing. The best connectivity technologies in different locales is what she's referring to when she's talking about population distribution of the Earth. They're trying to figure out the best connectivity technologies to be used in different locations. A quote from her, she says, "We see these as a viable option for serving these populations that are underconnected or unconnected." End quote. Mark Zuckerberg's firm is developing several types of technology to deliver internet access from its drones to satellites, and hopes the map will help it choose which system is best for each area. Lewis says, "Satellites are exciting for us." She goes on to say, "Our data showed the best way to connect cities is an internet in the sky. We're trying to connect people from the stratosphere and from space, using high-altitude drone aircraft and satellites to supplement Earth-based networks. We identified human-built structures such as buildings or other infrastructure, and used those locations as a proxy for where people live. We then combined our results with existing census counts and created a population dataset with 5-meter resolution for 20 countries. While recognizing structures in aerial imagery is a popular task in computer vision, scaling it to a global level came with additional difficulty." End quote. This creeps me out. This really creeps me out. As you probably know, if you've heard any other podcasts, like I'm very big on security, privacy, and like keeping my information. And this is something that I have no control over. Like, I couldn't say, "Hey, Facebook, don't take a digital image of my house. Like, leave my information out of this." That wasn't an option. They just did it. And it sounds like they don't know like where I specifically live unless I tell them. If I have it on Facebook, which I don't, and I recommend nobody having where they live on Facebook, or be very selective with your information, because when they have things like this, if they have a digital map, they see densities, and they can pinpoint where you live because you gave them where you live. It's very, very concerning and very creepy. They're selling this as we're doing this so we can give internet to people who don't have it or have poor internet. And why would they want to do that? It's because they want people on Facebook, because more views means more ads, which means more money. I think it's very disingenuous to send out this, it doesn't say how they got it, but have this information being collected and now being used to further Facebook's agenda. I just don't get down with that. I don't agree with the fact that you're a company that is so large that you can scan this stuff, have this information without anybody's consent. It's invasive, and it goes against everyone's right to keep things private, what they want to keep private. It's concerning. It's very concerning. Let me know what you think, if you have any concerns for this, and any other comments of the articles we go over today. Third today on the news, we have what is titled, "Google promised not to scan Gmail for targeted ads, but for how long?" So, on July 23rd of 2017, Google promised with great fanfare, says the article, that it would stop scanning consumers' Gmail messages to serve targeted, contextual-aware ads. However, court documents suggest this could be only temporary. A month after Google's announcements, the company quietly agreed to settle a class action lawsuit alleging that the targeted advertising scanning was illegal wiretapping. That deal, in which a federal judge gave preliminary approval to on Thursday, binds Google to just 3 years. Even under this deal, Google won't stop email scanning altogether. It scans for search, spam, malware, and for autoplay suggestions. What's more, Google Gmail users will still see ads on the Gmail web interface, but those ads won't be built for a scan of email content. Instead, they'll be generated off data from other Google services, like YouTube. This is interesting to me, because I'm on the fence here. Google, being a private company, they are giving you a service for free that is very useful. There's no reason why they couldn't use the data in your emails to scan for ads, to give you ads, so they can make money, because you're not paying for the service. That's one side of me. The other side of me also says, well, if they're scanning all my emails, they're going to know a lot more about me than they should. This is where encryption is big. We spent an entire episode on encryption earlier this week, and yesterday we did the one about making passphrases for your stuff. If someone's worried about this, if someone doesn't want Google looking through their email, then they should be encrypting it. It's a bit of a hassle, I know, but things like keybase.io make it easy. You go to keybase.io, you don't have to worry about key management because they do it for you. If you don't want them to do it for you, you can exploit your keys. And if you understand PGP and how it works, I recommend doing that because it's useful. But for the average user, using their web app is just fine. You write an email, you go to keybase.io, you go to the encrypt section, you just tell it to sign the encryption as well. You put what you want to say in it, you press encrypt, it encrypts it. Then you put the encrypted text in your email and you send it to the recipient. All they have to do then is use their private key to unlock it. Granted, I simplified it a little bit. I forgot to mention, whenever you're encrypting it, make sure you're gonna have to tell it what key to use and what person to use. Yeah, it's there. But Keybase makes it a lot easier than doing it all through a terminal and command line, or some obscure application. They have apps on Windows and Mac that do the same thing. Keybase is just more ubiquitous. And then Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, whoever is hosting your mail, they can read your email, but they're not going to see anything useful, and that stops that right in the bud, nips in the bud. So yeah, I understand that. I think that they're. I'm surprised they're not allowed to do this, because they're saying it's like illegal wiretapping, but is it really? They're a private company. You don't have to use their service. It's a very interesting take. Alright, article number 4 is Western Digital's new SanDisk card can hold 400 gigabytes of data. Western Digital has unveiled what is to say the world's highest capacity micro SD card. Yeah, one of those little suckers. Those tiny things that if you could swallow it and then poop it out the next day. Yeah, one of those things. They crammed 400 gigabytes of storage into that. This is mind-blowing. The card can hold up to 40 hours of full HD video and transfer data at 100 megabits per second. Sorry, 100 megabytes per second. At that speed, users could move 1,200 average-sized photos per minute over USB 3. The card, which Western Digital is aiming at Android smartphone and tablet users, comes with a 10-year warranty and is at a retail price of $250. That shocked me. I figured, oh, you're coming 400 gigabytes onto a little tiny card, that's gonna be a lot of money. I'm surprised it's only $250. Granted, I wouldn't spend that much money on it because I do not have that kind of money to spend on a 400 gigabyte micro SD card, but it's just really surprising that it's only that much. For reference, 2 years ago, Western Digital's biggest micro SD card stood at 200 gigabytes, which cost at launch $400. This is double that, and it cost just over half that price. That's pretty cool. To say, because inflation makes things, more money and blah blah blah. That's surprising. The year before that, the state-of-the-art SanDisk was 128 gigabytes, and that sold for $200. Well, I mean, I'd obviously buy a 400 gigabyte for $250 over a 128 gigabyte for $200. When the micro SD card first was launched in 2004, it only had a capacity of 128 megabytes. And now we're up to almost half a terabyte? That's mind-blowing. Jeff Janukozy? I'm sorry, Jeff, I don't know how to say your last name. He's the vice president of the IDC. He says, and I quote, "We anticipate the storage needs will only continue to grow as people continue to expect more sophisticated features on their devices and desire higher quality content. We estimate mobile device users worldwide will install over 150 million applications alone this year, which require a ton of memory on all our favorite devices." Yes, Jeff, I agree with you here that our needs are going to grow, that's for sure. What I don't agree with is you saying that 150 billion applications are going to require a ton of memory. In the grand scheme of things, yes, but me alone, I'm not going to need 400 gigabytes of space on my cell phone just yet. It just doesn't make my desktop computer has a terabyte, and I have maybe used 700 gigabytes of that. Just the stuff, I don't even know what it is. I could lose it and I wouldn't even miss it because I don't know what's even on there. So 400 gigs on a micro SD card that I can put into my phone, it's just ridiculous. Super cool. I'm not getting, don't get me wrong, that's super cool that we can do that. But saying that we need that, I mean, it's just a bit of a stretch. But doing these kind of things makes the other ones, like the 250 gig and the 100 gig and the 16 gig, a lot cheaper. So that's good for consumers who need extra space in their cell phone. They have the slot, they stick it in and all that jazz. This is good for them because they can produce a 400 gigabyte SD card for $250 retail. That means your 30 gigabyte SD card drops significantly in price over time, of course. So that's great. I'm happy about this. This is cool. We're continuing to see Moore's law applied to computers even at this stage in the game. Last but definitely not least, we have that NASA is celebrating the 40th anniversary of Voyager 1 and of Voyager 2, humanity's farthest and longest lived spacecraft. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, I guess spacecrafts, typo, are celebrating 40 years of operation and exploration this month of September. The Voyagers have set numerous records since they were launched in 1977, including Voyager 1 being the only spacecraft to have flown by all 4 outer planets: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Sorry, Pluto, you're not a planet. NASA engineers behind the probe say that they had no idea that they would still be working today. Isn't that crazy? They built these things, they're like, what's this gonna send them out there, see how long it goes. And they're like, well, how about that, it's still going. Each spacecraft carries a golden record on board, and this record includes sounds, pictures, and messages of Earth. Mr. Thomas Zerbachin, I'm terrible with these last names, Associate Administrator for NASA's Science Mission Directorate said, and I quote, "I believe that the few missions can ever match the achievements of the Voyager spacecraft during their 4 decades of exploration. They have educated us to the unknown wonders of the universe and truly inspired humanity to continue to explore our solar system and beyond." During their 40 years of operation, the Voyagers have set several records. In 2012, Voyager 1 became the only spacecraft to have entered interstellar space, which the Voyager 2 is the only spacecraft to have flown by all 4 outer planets, which we said were Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. The planetary encounters include the discovery of the first active volcanoes beyond Earth on Jupiter's moon, Io, and the most Earth-like atmosphere in the solar system, which we found on Saturn's moon, Titan. Voyager 1 is currently 13 billion miles away from Earth, traveling northward through space. How is there a north in space? We'll go with it. The probe has recently sent back data to NASA that cosmic rays are as much as 4 times more abundant in interstellar space than in the vicinity of Earth. This suggests that the heliosphere, the region of space that contains the solar system's planets, may act as a radiation shield. Voyager 2 is now 11 billion miles from Earth, traveling southwards towards the interstellar region. The contrasting locations of the 2 spacecraft allow scientists to compare 2 regions of space where the heliosphere interacts with the interstellar medium. Whatever that means. Once Voyager 2 crosses into the interstellar medium, scientists will be able to sample the medium from 2 different locations at the same time. Miss Susan Dodd, Voyager project manager, said, and I quote, "The technology is many generations old, and it takes someone with 1970s design experience to understand how the spacecraft operate and what updates can be made to permit them to continue operating today and into the future." End quote. Unfortunately, NASA predicts that it will have to turn off the last science instrument by 2030. But even after the spacecraft goes silent, they will continue their journey, completing an orbit within the Milky Way every 225 million years. That's a long time. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today, checking out the news that I found interesting this week in tech-related field. If you have any questions, if you have any comments about these articles and you want to give your 2 cents, please call in if you're on Anchor. If you're listening to this elsewhere, if it's on a podcast somewhere like iTunes or Google Play, or you're watching this on YouTube or BitChute, leave a comment or message me on Twitter, and I'll be happy to talk to you and feature you on the show. So until next time, guys, keep doing tech things or whatever. I need a good ending.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.